Okay, here's recording. All right, you guys, thank you so much for coming tonight. I just wanted to spend some time talking a little bit about this topic because it has been something that has worked absolute wonders for me and has blown my mind. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself as well, but um, I had a lot of people in my messengers and chats asking me questions about this because if any of you know me, a lot of you are probably Facebook friends with me, follow me. You see that I post a lot of things on Facebook. I have a lot of stories, I have a lot of reels, and I've been doing a lot of things over the years. And just to give you a little bit of a background of who I am and what got me here today, my name is Becky Smith, by the way. I am a mother of three. I've got three teenagers. My background is in medical laboratory science, biochemistry realm of things. I teach medical laboratory science and I work in a medical laboratory. And that has kind of given me a passion for the scientific research behind a lot of the things that I've tried. So I do a lot of reading. I spend the majority of my time getting in research pits of information trying to find things to hack the body. You've probably heard of the term biohacking. And I have not done something like this where I've done a presentation on something that I have done for myself and had such amazing results with. But I have a huge history of weight struggles as well. So I have done, if you can think of anything, I've done it. I've done Weight Watchers. I've failed at keto probably 10 times. I've done gosh, you name it, the cabbage soup diet back in the day. I mean, I remember being on Weight Watchers as a child when my mom would do Weight Watchers, I'd do it along with her. And, there's just so many things that I've done and I've just it's always been a struggle. One of the things that I found that has worked really well for me in the past was intermittent fasting. And if you can see the picture here, I don't share this publicly on Facebook. But this is where I was at prior to starting some intermittent fasting. And that was something that I had a lot of luck with. And I was able to lose 72 pounds doing that. Um, but of course, over time, as you get a little bit loose with that, you start gaining some weight back too. But I've never been able to completely eliminate the inflammation that I have been struggling with. And I think a lot of people really do struggle with inflammation for a variety of reasons, whether it be autoimmune disease, which I struggle with three of those. I'll talk about those in a minute. It could be just a dietary related in a lot of cases. That's where inflammation comes from. And inflammation over the long term can cause a lot of issues and heart disease, all of the other um, problems that we have. And I'll be talking a little bit about sugar in the future here. And, the role that that plays with inflammation is absolutely incredible, especially when it comes to the standard American diet. We call it the SAD diet, right? So, what got me into doing a lot of this research is the autoimmune diseases that I have. I have Hashimoto's disease, which is the most common thyroid disease that majorly impacts women. Men can have this as well, but it's an autoimmune disease that attacks your thyroid. And if you know anything about your thyroid, that controls your metabolism. So that makes it really, really difficult to lose weight, let me tell you. That has been a huge struggle. It was something that I discovered after the birth of my first child. And I have always, we have more people still joining here. I've always been, trying to battle that more than anything else. Throughout the years, I have developed a seronegative rheumatoid arthritis, which affects my joints as well, which is additional inflammation within the joints that can be painful, leads to extra osteoarthritis and things like that. The last thing that I have is a discoid lupus, which it kind of falls in the category with things like psoriasis, eczema. It's a interface dermatitis that is kind of an immune reaction within the skin, and it causes itchy welts. And that has been kind of discomforting as well. And I'm going to, Brittany and Kelly, I'm going to mute yours here because I can hear your feedback. There we go. So those are some autoimmune issues that I have struggled with. And I have been on a mission for probably the last 20 years that I've known that I've had Hashimoto's to bring my antibodies down from levels that were over 1,000 down to zero is my life passion here. So there's a lot of different things I've done, but nothing has gotten me as far as fast as the carnivore diet. So that's what I really just kind of wanted to focus on a little bit today. So, what exactly is this carnivore diet? I see if you go to TikTok and you look at the carnivore diet, you're going to see many, 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 many different versions of this. Okay. I took it down to the bare bones, most simple form of the carnivore diet. I think some people are eating keto and calling it the carnivore diet. So, this is the dietary approach that involves consuming only animal-based products such as meat, fish, eggs, and animal-derived fats. Now, a lot of people throw cheese and dairy in that category. The only thing that I'm using in that classification is grass-fed butter. I use that as a healthy fat to go with what I'm eating. But for the only thing I've been eating for the last 62 days, and I do have a couple caveats, um, is meat, a lot of red meat, fish, eggs. I do pork, a little bit of bacon, etc. No plants, none at all. I had a coworker today ask me, she's like legumes, you eat those, right? Nope, no, absolutely not. No plant-based foods, no plants. And I think I've tried every diet known to man, including paleo, autoimmune paleo, FODMAP free, nightshade free. And a lot of you may not know what those means, but there are a lot of plants that have things like lectins and they can be inflammatory in certain people. So I've eliminated all of that possibility and took it down to the bare bones, just meat. Okay. My goal in doing this was to get my Hashimoto antibodies that were at one time, I think 1100, down to zero. Prior to starting the carnivore diet, I started October 28th of 2024. So I'm only on day 63. But what I have found has been absolutely astonishing. So I started with a TPO, which is the thyroid antibodies of 205, and I've driven that down to 113 in just under, this is about a month and a half or so. I'm very fortunate that I have a doctor who orders these tests for me as often as I want. So that is super, super helpful. Um, so I found that this is really working for me. It's bringing the antibody levels down. And the one thing that really surprised me was the fact that I was losing weight so fast. So I am down 26 pounds in about 63 days. I'm not a really big person. I'm 5'4", and today I'm 158 pounds. So I'm not a big person. I hold a lot of muscle on my body as well. So I'm just not a big person. So for me to lose that amount of weight that fast was just absolutely mind blowing to me. And to bring these antibodies down to these levels is crazy. So where it comes to these autoimmune disease benefits, a lot of times autoimmune diseases are triggered by a food. And there's a lot of books and a lot of research out there on this, but one of the things that I've always been told as a Hashi patient is to get rid of gluten. Gluten, even if it doesn't give you, the irritable bowel issues and the celiac disease, if you don't have celiac disease, it can still trigger inflammation in the body. So by decreasing this inflammation that you could be getting from the plants, the seeds, the beans, the lectins, all of these things from the plants, you're able to modulate an autoimmune response by that massive decrease of inflammation. So we have seen, and there's tons of peer-reviewed research. I was thinking about taking screenshots of all this research that I've looked at and just pasting it in here. And I thought, no, I'm going to save you all that pain. You can find that on your own if you want to. But they've seen massive symptom improvement for rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis, Crohn's disease. Again, I just want to reiterate here, I am not giving any medical advice whatsoever. I am just explaining what I have found and the research that I have seen and the effects that I have had from this. We have seen a major reduction in the flares that people get. And as a Hashi, I know what this means. Sometimes you'll just get like this inflammation flare. You don't feel well. Your energy is just zapped. It's almost like a depressive heaviness that weighs on you, and you just feel like you're walking through mud. And in that's really painful. So if you can have a decrease in those flares in these autoimmune conditions, and have less reliance on some of these medications or massively decrease the amount of medications you're on, it's just going to help you in the long run, right? So that's huge with autoimmune disease. And I think everybody knows somebody with some of these autoimmune issues. And it's not just these things like eczema and psoriasis, and those things are kind of an autoimmune condition as well. I was just talking to somebody who had lichen planus, I think is what it's called, the other day, which affects the skin. I have people coming out of the woodwork talking about autoimmune all the time. So this has been absolutely huge. Now I know what a lot of you guys coming into the first of the year want to hear more about is the weight loss piece of this. And that is what the part that surprised me because I didn't come into this to lose weight. I came into this to get my Hashimoto's antibodies down to zero. That was my goal. And once I found how I felt within the first week or two, I couldn't believe what was happening. I was stepping on the scale like the first week. I don't remember what it was. It was like 10 pounds or 8 to 10 pounds in the first week. And in the first couple of weeks, I was like 12 pounds. I'm like, holy cats. Like I have never in any diet I've ever done have have experienced that kind of weight loss. And I wasn't going to weigh myself, but then all of a sudden I was just peeing so much. Pardon the the graphic, but I was going to the bathroom constantly. I'm like, man, I got to be losing a ton of water weight here. And I was. So that was the first thing to go. Definitely the water. And with any diet or any health lifestyle program that you're going to go on, that's the first thing that you're going to see is a massive loss of water. And that leads to some issues. Okay. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But the thing that makes the weight loss so much easier with this is the massive amounts of protein means increased satiety. And did you know that when you eat a lot of protein, your body increases GLP-1 naturally to an extreme extent because your body needs to slow down digestion and break up that protein. It takes forever to get through your system, so you stay satisfied so long. A lot of people that I see overeating, 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 they're not getting enough protein. If you're not getting at least 100 grams of protein a day, I guarantee you're hungry. If you eat 100 grams of protein a day, all of a sudden you're going to be like, I can't eat any more food because I'm so full. Okay. Protein is huge. That increased satiety where you just feel satisfied and you stay satisfied is huge. We're also going to see decreased calorie consumption because you're so full. You're not going to keep eating. You're not going to be reaching for the cookies and the snacks. I found after the first 2 weeks, I had zero sugar cravings whatsoever. The other thing that happens is once we burn through all of our sugar in the first week or so, you're going to put your body into what's called ketosis. You've probably heard of this from the keto diet. We're bringing this to an even bigger level by taking out all the carbs. I don't really eat any. And if you're going to do dairy, and there is an option that I'll talk about at the end that you can do this and you can put dairy in there. But I'm going to tell you, you're not going to get the same results as if you take the dairy out initially and maybe add some dairy back later. Getting your body into ketosis is key. That means your body is burning fat. In order to do that, you got to get your carb level down as low as possible. And there's nothing that's going to get it down as low as a carnivore diet, let me tell you. The other thing that we're seeing is improved insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance. This is huge. So I would say, what did they say? I think it's like 75% of America is like insulin sensitive slash insulin resistant at this point. I had my insulin levels drawn a couple of years ago and my levels were 26. I say less than 10 is where you want to be. The higher your insulin is, the harder it is for your body to burn fat. Okay. How do you know you're insulin resistant? You're probably craving a lot of sugar. Okay. You're probably a little bit overweight and you have some belly fat. Okay. These are just common things that we see. But how you got there was eating too many carbs over time and your body will keep increasing insulin because it's trying to push the sugar into the cells. So your insulin gets higher and higher and higher and higher. This doesn't happen overnight, you guys. This has been happening for the last 15, 20 years that you've been eating the standard American diet and getting the carbs in. I guilty. Okay. We all do it. And the more you consume those carbohydrates, the higher your insulin levels get. You're not going to drop those overnight. That's going to take a little bit of time for that insulin to come down. If you've been doing this 20, 30 years, your insulin levels are really high, even though your blood sugar is normal, it's going to take you longer before your body drops the insulin so that you can burn fat. Your body can't burn fat in the presence of high insulin. So if you're struggling and struggling and struggling to lose weight, your insulin levels are probably high. The best way to get them down lower is to increase your protein, decrease your carbohydrates. Okay. So that is why when as I reflect back on a lot of this, and I'm a biochemistry teacher by trade as well, and that's, I mean, in the realm of that of biochemistry, I kind of understand how this works, and it made a lot of sense as to why my body was able to lose so much, weight so fast. The other really great thing about this diet is muscle preservation. You probably know a lot of people who are on a GLP-1 medication, and they they're losing weight like crazy. And they're starting to, some of them, I mean, they're losing weight so fast that they've got baggy skin. They're losing muscle just as fast as they're losing weight. And this is because they're not eating the protein that they should be. Okay. The shot isn't what's making them lose the weight, it's the inability to eat due to turning off food noise and massive decreased calorie consumption. So now they're very very thin and they've lost a lot of muscle. Now they stop taking the shot. Muscle burns calories, muscle burns fat, so they've lost all their muscle. They go back to the way they ate before and now they're gaining weight twice as fast because they lost the muscle in the whole process. Getting the protein in that you're going to get on the carnivore diet, your muscle will be preserved. Your body will not burn muscle unless it's in a massive starvation state. It will hang on to it. You're getting the protein that you need. You hang on to the muscle in the long term, you're not going to gain the weight back. Okay. Super huge. I do have another little side note on here, and I have a bunch of boxes open. Um, and I like to throw this in because people don't think about this. The order of substrate metabolism is a huge topic that I love to talk about, especially with my clinical chemistry students too, is alcohol stops your body from burning fat for about 36 hours. And I'm not trying to tell you to stop. I love a glass of red wine. Don't get me wrong, but people need to kind of realize that how your body is going to burn fat, which is where we want to get, right? Alcohol is not carnivore, by the way, but we're all humans. I know you're going to do it anyways. Your body will burn alcohol first. So let's say you go out to eat, you have 3 glasses of red wine, you have a steak, you have potatoes, and a piece of cheesecake. Okay. What is the order your body's going to burn that? It's going to sit and burn the alcohol first. It's going to take 36 hours for your body to start even thinking about burning fat after drinking those 3 glasses of red wine. Then you're going to have to start working through that potato and that cheesecake. Okay. Then your body's going to start processing some of that protein long before it'll even touch the fat in your body. Okay. So just keep that in mind that your body will not burn any carbohydrates until it burns the alcohol. It's not going to burn any fat until it burns the carbohydrates. So getting the alcohol and the carbs out of the picture gets you down into that massive fat burning, which is going to happen really fast. Okay. Just a little side note that I thought I'd throw in there. I'm not anti-alcohol. I'm just letting you know that if you're like, "Ugh, I don't know, I can't lose weight. How many glasses of wine are you drinking in a week? How many beers did you have on the weekend?" So just something to consider. All right. So I just wanted to mention some of the questions that I get. So I talk about this all the time. I get questions from coworkers. I get questions on Facebook Messenger, on Facebook. Anytime I post something, I got so many questions coming at me that I want to cover really quick. And then I'm going to open the floor for any questions that you guys might have. One of the biggest things is, what about nutrient deficiencies? What about all those minerals and things that you get from the plants that we eat, Becky? You're gonna get scurvy. You're gonna be a pirate. No. Okay. So I have decided to supplement with some things, and that is completely up to you. They say if you are eating whole, like grass-fed, pasture-raised, all of these things, that you're going to get the nutrients that you need and you're not going to have any nutrient deficiencies. Having the autoimmune diseases that I have, I want to make sure that my nutrient levels are where they need to be. So some of the nutrient deficiencies that are of concern to some carnivore people, vitamin C, okay, because that comes from citrus fruits, right? And we do require vitamin C. You could get it from your meats if it's really high meat sources, and organ meats and things like that. Magnesium, that's another one that is really important. Um, Also, salt. We want to make sure that we get enough salt. So, what I have done to defeat these nutrient deficiencies, I'll talk about in a little bit, and what it is that I'm using. The next one is digestion. There's one or two things that might happen. You're either going to be constipated, which I don't hear about very often. I don't have these issues at all whatsoever, by the way. Or, as my husband describes it, peeing out his butthole. Like that's what he's been doing for the last month. So, and it doesn't bother him though. He's like, it's not so bad. It's not like emergency situations or anything, but it's going to be a change in your digestion because your body is so used to fake food and now it's getting used to real food. It's going to take a little bit of time. So using something like a digestive enzyme is huge. And probiotics, I think, is going to help the process get along a lot faster. The next thing that people struggle with, and I think I breezed through this for a number of reasons, is the keto flu. Now, this isn't the keto diet because keto is like all fat and has a lot of dairy sometimes, but you're still going to go through this phase. Your body for the first 4 days is going to burn through all of the glucose and glycogen that you have stored. Okay, it's going to take about 4 days. I say it's day 4 through 6. This is where people quit. Okay, this is where people go, I feel like crap. I want that donut so bad I can't stand it. We call this the keto flu. A couple things are going to happen. Could happen. This didn't happen to me this time, and I'll tell you why. You're going to get a headache, you're going to be tired, and you would give your left arm for a donut. Like you are like, I want something sweet, 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 I want something. And it's just overwhelming, right? So that is like a 3 day stretch that you have to get through. And I'm going to give you some ideas of what I did. The next thing that I hear is, isn't that expensive? Like you'll see me on Facebook, I'm eating ribeyes every other day. Yet, is a ribeye expensive? Yes. But you know what's more expensive? All of the garbage that people are buying for the sides, all the salad toppings, all the salad stuff you throw away, all of the protein bars, protein shakes, um, pastas and pasta sauces and all of these things. Honestly, I'm spending less doing the carnivore diet than I was spending buying all of this other stuff. Now, I do have some kids that don't eat 100% carnivore. I will make them some baked potatoes and all that kind of stuff on the side, because that's just, what they want. And that's totally fine with me. So no, in my opinion, it's not. I go to Costco, I buy a 6 pack of ribeyes, I cut them in half, I get 12 ribeyes out of it. It's cheaper than McDonald's when I eat a half a ribeye and a handful of shrimp. The shrimp that I get, 3 pound bag from Sam's Club. It's got no tail, no peel. You just throw it in a pan. It's 15 bucks for 3 pounds. I put a big handful of that with a ribeye about this big, and that is like it it totally fills me up. So is it expensive? It's cheaper than McDonald's, let me tell you. And then being consistent. This is the part that surprised me the most. And I think I've been able to remain consistent with this for a number of reasons. For one, I have the best mental clarity you could ever possibly imagine. I have energy sustainability throughout the whole day and evening. My energy does not crash, it just stays the same. I'm able to focus on things normally I couldn't focus on. And there's no decision fatigue. And this is probably why I gave up the paleo diet. I gave up the keto diet. I gave up because I was like, okay, I need this recipe with these vegetables. I got to chop this. I got to chop that. I got to make this. I got to make that. Now I just make meat and I'm done. I'll make 3, 4, 5 meats and I'll eat them for a couple days. There's no decision and recipe cooking fatigue. Okay. So that has been a huge, not only that, my stomach just feels so thin. It's the weirdest thing. Like I can suck my stomach in all the time. And having that feeling of just being able to hold your belly button in is weird to me because I would get inflamed and bloated very easily, but not anymore. And just 1 or 2 days of not eating this way, which is what I did on Thanksgiving, and I did it again Thanksgiving, Black Friday. I did eat one meal that wasn't 100% carnivore on Christmas, and within the next 24 hours, I could feel it. And all I could think about was how much I wanted to go back to eating only meat so I could feel that way again. I have never felt this great. So you got to focus on how you feel going through this. So those are some of the questions that I get. So the way that I deal with these nutrient deficiencies, I do take a vitamin D supplement as well. I always want to take vitamin D and vitamin K together. I have a supplement that I take that has acerola cherry, which is the world's most concentrated form of vitamin C. It also has some elderberry and stuff in it. And I know these are not carnivore, so bear with me. These are very clean, whole sources that I know are not irritating to autoimmune disease. So I'm very okay with what it is that I am taking in that realm. So I added these on after month 1 to make sure I was getting the vitamin C and elderberry. I also work in a medical laboratory and do all of the COVID, influenza, and strep testing that you could possibly imagine. And I want to keep my immune system where it needs to be. So vitamin C to me is very important, along with some of those other immune boosting properties. So I do use a supplement for that. Digestion is another issue that I mentioned, and I use a digestive enzyme that has probiotics in it. This has been a game changer for me when I first started using this before carnivore, even. I lost 2 inches off my waist just by using a digestive enzyme. You're going to be eating more protein than you have ever eaten in your entire life. And it's a lot to digest. And as we get older, your body doesn't digest things as much. So you're going to feel really full for a while. If you can break that down a little bit better with a digestive enzyme, that is super, super helpful. I do, if you follow me on Facebook, you know that I use Enrich is the best digestive enzyme that I have found. Keto flu. How do you bust through the keto flu? Electrolytes. And you may know people who are on a GLP-1 getting headaches because they're dehydrated. Okay. This diet is going to make you pee like crazy and you will dehydrate very quickly. I highly recommend a electrolyte drink of some sort. So you may have heard of Element, you may have heard of Liquid IV. We have so many of these in our house. Liquid IV. Find one that is clean. I like Trinon's Quench, which has methylated B12 in it as well. Gives you a little bit of energy. Also has magnesium. Make sure it's got magnesium, sodium, and potassium. I'm not sure if Liquid IV has magnesium actually. I don't really know. That one does. We get these like handed out at sports tournaments and stuff, so we usually just grab them. But Liquid IV isn't one that I typically take. I don't even know if there's magnesium in that. I don't know. I'm not going to sit and read this in front of you. But anyways, this is better than nothing. But these ones here do have magnesium in them as well, and that is really important because that's something that you would want to feel really good. Oh, I lost my screen. I'll just stop sharing for a second. Um, The other couple pieces that I utilize as well, I do take an additional GLP-1 drink. I think this has helped me with the cravings to get through um, the keto flu where you're just craving all of those cravings. That helps you get through that. Um, a good collagen is really important too because you're losing weight so fast, is what I recommend. And there is a tool that I used for Thanksgiving and Christmas because I had some meatballs that had some sauce that was a little sketchy. I use a sugar to fiber enzyme for that as well, to help convert any accidental sugars into a not a soluble fiber that would just be passed through rather than getting the sugar in my bloodstream. So that was few and far between. Of course, Thanksgiving, I was going to be having my mom's stuffing, and Christmas, I was going to be eating the meatballs that we eat every single year that have a really good sauce on them. So those were some things that I was really looking forward to. And I had the tools in place to help obliterate some of that sugar into fiber. So, all right. Does anybody have questions? I got about a half hour in, so I'm just curious to see if there's any questions you guys have. Going to the chat here too.
Hey, Becky, it's Shelly.
Hi. Hi, Shelley.
So, how much protein are you eating per meal? Like, do you measure it out, or are you just eating whatever you feel like eating?
I eat until I'm satisfied. Um,
Okay.
I would probably be embarrassed to show you the size of the ribeye that I just ate before I did this. Um, Calories still matter. Okay. So if someone's eating 4,000 calories worth of meat, that's going to be a problem. But I find that I can only eat so much. Like for example, I still do a little bit of intermittent fasting because I'm just not a breakfast eater. I drink an energy drink, Mojo. You guys are probably familiar with that. Yes, I'll talk about the eggs and cheese in just a minute. Um, it- I fast for a little while, and then for lunch, a typical lunch would probably be like 4 ounces of ground beef and two eggs fried together. And then for dinner might be I take my ribeyes, I cut them in half because they're just so big, and then maybe a ribeye and a piece of fish, or a ribeye and a pile of shrimp. Um, a burger patty and 2 eggs, something like that is considered a meal. And it's really hard to eat more than that, if I'm being honest. Like you get so full so fast because it's all meat. But yeah, that's typically what that looks like. There isn't um, exact certain amount. I'm going to open the chat here because people are asking questions. Sorry, guys. Okay. How long can you stay on this? Indefinitely. I know there's some people that I have followed and read up on. I've been doing it about 7, 8 years. My intent as I'm moving forward is to add small amounts of things back to see how my body reacts to it. I may add some aged dairy back next, which would be like an aged cheddar cheese, maybe some Parmesan, something like that, in the next couple of months. But right now, I'm feeling really good, and I just want to see where I settle in, and then I'll start adding some things back. Um, Eggs and cheese, please. So eggs, I eat eggs because they're so nutrient dense and they're so cost effective. Now, I went to the grocery store today. I spent $6 on a dozen conventional eggs because their regular eggs were $10. If you go to Costco or Sam's, they have pastured, organic, free range and pastured. Well, pastured's better. Eggs. And they had 2 dozen for like $8, I think, at Sam's Club, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just paid like $6 for a dozen eggs where I could get 2 dozen for. So look at those big box stores too. And that is something where I would definitely splurge and get the pastured organic eggs. The yolks are dark yellow and they're just so full of those nutrients. So I would stick to those eggs for sure because you get more nutrients out of it. And especially since you're not eating all of the breads and all the other stuff, like get a nice egg. The cheese can be very inflammatory. I have been trying to avoid dairy for years. There's two types of dairy. There's A1 and A2 dairy. Um, Holstein cows are A1 dairy. It's very inflammatory. A2 dairy is like human breast milk. So there's you'll see it in stores now, A2. I think sheep's cheese manchego, that might be A2 dairy. There's different types of dairy that are less inflammatory. There's an A2 dairy in my area. You can go there and you can buy cheese and cheese curds and milk, and it's all A2 cows. Um, so cheese can be very inflammatory in some. If you don't have autoimmune disease and you're just doing this to lose weight, by all means, you can try doing the dairy, but you're going to have a lot more success starting off with no dairy, adding some dairy later, and see what happens. Okay. Seasonings, I started off with just Celtic sea salt. I love it now, actually. I'm addicted to it. This has boatloads of minerals in it. Your standard iodized salt, Morton salt, doesn't have all of the minerals and trace minerals that you'll find um, in a good Celtic sea salt. And this is one that I saw. Just working my way down the list here. How much water? I drink to thirst. Um, because this diet's going to make you pee a lot as it is, and it's going to make you thirsty. But once you start adding in the electrolytes, that's going to help with the thirst and the massive amounts of peeing as well. But definitely use a good salt. If I do carnivore for a month, lose weight, and then go back to some card, no sugar, will I gain all the weight back? Not necessarily, but you're not going to feel good. What I would do is go carnivore for at least January and then start adding a little bit back and keep track of how you feel. I would measure your waist for sure, because that's going to be a big sign of what you're doing with inflammation. You can put yourself on the scale, but there's a lot of different things. I hate the scale because some people they might not lose any weight in a week, but there's so many significant changes in their body. And then they're like, this doesn't work. And they quit. They didn't give their body enough time to decrease the insulin resistance. It's coming down. Your body's getting healthier. It's coming into line, but they give up before they actually see where the magic happens. That has just always been something that's hard for me to wrap my head around. It's like you got to stick to something for at least 90 days to see what's going to happen within that. Let's see. That was the
Do you,
last question that I had in the chat. Yep.
can I ask it a question? Can you hear
Yep.
me?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
So are you concerned at all like with eggs for cholesterol issues?
No.
No.
Um, Not at all. I think what people don't realize is your cholesterol level, the total cholesterol. I'm not talking triglycerides, LDL, HDL. Your total cholesterol. That is a precursor to the hormones in your body. So you need cholesterol. And prior to this whole new diet change in the 80s, and people would have cholesterol 350, 400, they didn't care. The bigger picture is where your triglycerides and your LDL lie. those are the things that are going to be a lot more damaging to your body. Um, and if you're not eating carbohydrates, your body should be effectively processing all of those other fats. Now,
Okay.
if you're eating, this is what happens. People think that, okay, if I eat less fat, my cholesterol is going to go down. But actually, if you eat less carbohydrates, your bad cholesterol is going to come down because your body is going to be utilizing those for energy. Where if you're eating a lot of carbs, you're constantly burning carbs, burning carbs, burning carbs. You never get into the fat burning and burning up all of those garbage fats in your body. You're just always in this carbohydrate burning mode, and everything else just kind of sits around. But when you peel off that layer of carbohydrates, your body's going to start processing all of that, and it's not going to rise. It's going to actually probably lower. Is
That's
my
interesting.
opinion. Now, of course, I'm not a medical professional. This is just
Mhm.
my opinion, and I do not have any cholesterol issues whatsoever, and I don't foresee them happening from this. But yeah, the people that I know who have high cholesterol are carb addicts. And I'm not talking total cholesterol, I'm talking triglycerides and HDL or LDL, because those are the ones that are more damaging. Now, that being said, it is familial sometimes to definitely keep an eye on it, but you will see a small increase in total cholesterol, but you shouldn't with triglycerides and LDL.
Do you
Um,
exercise?
do I? Not right now. I'm bringing that in January. My life is kind of crazy, and that is definitely my intent, but no, not nowhere near where I should be. Drinking tea, you can drink tea, just don't put sugar in it. Why do you lose inches but the scale doesn't move? Um, so fat weighs a lot less than water and muscle. Okay, so there's gonna be a shift. So as you're losing, as you're burning fat, it's gonna be replaced with water, and then you're probably gonna have somewhat of a whoosh effect. Um, you know, the visceral fat around your organs too, as you're losing that, you'll lose some inches, and there's gonna be a redistribution of water throughout your body. I'm one of those whooshers. Like this hasn't happened this time around though, really. But in the past, I like wouldn't lose, wouldn't lose, wouldn't lose. All of a sudden, 3 pounds. Wouldn't lose, wouldn't lose, wouldn't lose, wouldn't lose 3 pounds. Like that's just the way I call myself a whoosher. I would just whoosh away the weight. Um, that is, there's a lot of probably other reasons why that might happen, but I have not seen that happen this time. I have been consistently going down in weight. Um, I mean, every 3 days I weigh myself, I'm down another pound. And that's crazy to me. So,
So I have a question for you.
mhm.
As you're losing weight, I mean, there's going to have to be a point where you shouldn't be losing anymore, right? I mean, so is that increasing your protein or where or you haven't figured that out yet?
I haven't
You
figured that
don't
out
know.
yet. I'm on day
Hmm.
62. I'm certainly not underweight by any stretch. I am 5'4", 158 pounds. I would say if I got below 140, I would start trying to figure out how I would stop the weight loss. Mainly because I don't want to replace my whole wardrobe either. But I don't foresee that happening. I do eat a lot. I'm probably eating a good 2,000 calories worth of meat and fat in a day if I had to guess.
Okay.
So, but I feel really good. Like I said, the mental clarity, the my waist, my belly, just how I feel, and the inflammation is just washed away. It's crazy. So, is there anything else in the chat? Nope. Any other questions?
You hear me, Becky?
I can hear you. Hey, Patty.
So, other than the Celtic sea salt, do you use any other seasonings on your meat?
I do use pepper on
Is there
occasion.
is there a problem with garlic? I'm just a garlic
Not
person.
for everybody. You know, here's what I recommend. If you go to TikTok and you follow some carnivore people, I'm a TikTok junkie. Um, there's a few carnivore Ray I follow, and he'll talk about this too, that if you have autoimmune disease and rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis and all these issues and inflammation that you're trying to get under control, start with meat and salt. Then add seasonings later to see what happens. If you're just strictly, I just want to lose fat, eat the seasonings. Seasonings aren't going to hurt anything. But me having autoimmune disease, I stuck to the Celtic sea salt, some pepper, and meat. Now I did on my steak tonight, I put some Montreal steak seasoning. There's probably garlic in that. I'm adding a few things back as I go to see what happens. I don't foresee my body having a huge issue with some of the Montreal steak seasoning on my ribeye. Um, I'm adding little bits to see what happens. So if garlic doesn't bother you, by all means, eat the garlic. But if you have autoimmune disease, that's where I think you should start 1 month of just straight meat and a really good salt. I think Redmond's is another salt. But after, a month in, I do use these other tools that I mentioned as well. Um, I am taking the Activate GLP-1 drink. I am using the Quench for electrolytes. And I think these are the tools that are keeping me consistent and not quitting. Do you know what I mean? I think
Right.
if I were to feel like crap, have constant headaches, have no energy, I wouldn't be consistent. But because I love my mojo, makes me feel amazing. I love my electrolytes. It keeps me hydrated and makes me feel good. I love my activated increases nitrous oxide and just makes me feel amazing all through. And I know these things are all natural. I think that is what's helped keep me with just eating meat the whole way through, just these little tools and little tweaks.
Yeah. I just
Um,
ordered the bundle of the electrolyte just so when I know I'm starting this, I have enough
yep,
to make
yep.
sure I do have that to replace. And I also take Boost,
hmm
which I know increases your
Nitrous oxide. Yep.
yeah.
That makes you just feel really okay. Would this be helpful for Alzheimer's patients? Um, Alzheimer's is considered type 3 diabetes. That's coming out in a lot of research that I've been reading too. Absolutely, it would be helpful. If somebody's already has Alzheimer's, it's really hard to reverse that, but it can help prevent it moving forward. I have a lot of Alzheimer's in my family too. Granted, it doesn't really hit them till they're like in their 90s. So I think everybody's got a right to have some Alzheimer's in their 90s. Um, but yeah, they consider Alzheimer's to be like type 3 diabetes and could be very, very sugar related because there's so much more Alzheimer's now than there ever has been. So, absolutely. Anytime you can decrease your carbohydrates, for sure. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Okay. All right. Well, I did record this. It's a good 45 minutes. I'm going to slap it on YouTube and I'll post it on Facebook for people. If you guys have any friends or anything that want to watch. Um, Obviously there's everybody's gonna be a little bit different, have different opinions. This is not medical advice. I'll say that 110 times. It is just my experience and that I wanted to share with how amazing this has been and the process that I've gone through and the tools that I've used to remain consistent through this that I'll continue to use too. So if anybody has any questions on those, you can reach out to me. I think I know almost everybody on here. So any questions certainly could come my way. If you're watching this on the YouTube link after, just drop your questions in the comments and I can answer those as well. All right, you're welcome. Okay, guys, I'm going to let you go. Have a fantastic night and have a great new year.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.